MDJ podcast. And what does that stand for?
misterDjay podcast.
What's going on, YouTube? Back at you with another video. We're here with podcast number 10. Got my boy here.
The most charismatic man in entertainment.
Yeah. So, one thing I definitely wanted to talk about on the podcast is basically social media and its effect on society today. I think people don't even realize how it's changed people in societal interactions. And we got things like, cancel culture is a thing now, you know what I'm saying? And one of the questions that I asked myself is cancel culture even necessary? So before I kind of get into that, I wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
Man, cancel culture has become a cancer to our society. I mean, it's ridiculous. It started off with a cause. It's like with every movement. It starts off good and then it just turns bad because now people, I mean, the idea that you're getting canceled for something that you said 15 years ago, 10 years ago, like, it's just ridiculous. In certain aspects it is needed, but in a lot of times it's not. I think it's just when you give people a platform or a voice, they tend to abuse it. And I think that's the issue with cancel culture. People are abusing the privilege of speaking out. So, I mean, what do you think? It's a very controversial topic for sure.
Well, what I was going to ask is, in what situations do you think is cancel culture like necessary? So like when do you think is necessary for somebody to be canceled? Or should we get like the definition of like cancel straight first before we even elaborate on that?
And that's the key part is what is cancel or what is the issue that we're canceling? Because the thing what I'm seeing is there's no rules or there's no, like a list or some type of order to it. It's just like, you could say something that's, as a joke, like Kevin Hart saying a joke could be, oh, let's cancel him. I mean, then you have the Harvey Weinsteins who deserve to get canceled. So for me, cancel culture would be if someone committed a heinous act, says something, completely out of bounds, something very offensive, something that would cause another person some type of harm or, just starting trouble. Like, but again, we have to define what cancel culture is because there's no definite definition of it. Everybody's definition of cancel culture or what constitutes being canceled is different. And that is the issue I'm seeing. It's like there's no clear defined rules. It's just, okay, if we don't like this person, let's get them out of here. And it's like,
and that's what I feel like it's become. I feel like now cancel culture is like if you're a public figure and you're somebody that's got a career that's established, that career is what's getting canceled. You know what I'm saying? For me, I think it's gone way past that where you can be a regular person and get, canceled for having a certain kind of opinion that people, don't necessarily agree with. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I'm asking myself, well, is that even necessary? I feel like it shouldn't be called cancel culture. I feel like people have to change the wording because I feel like, words are powerful. You know what I'm saying? So you can't necessarily cancel somebody. You know what I'm saying? So I think it shouldn't be called cancel culture. I think they should call it something else. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I agree. But again, it's one of those things where until we as a society define what that is, it's going to be the issue because like, why is an actor saying Trump 2020? Why is he getting canceled? Why? Because you don't like Trump like that. So you're going to stop this man from providing for his family and continue his career just because he said something you didn't like. So that's my only thing with our society now. We live in a very, I'm gonna just call out and say, I'm gonna just be that guy. We live in a very victimhood society. Everybody feels oppressed. Everybody feels offended. And it's like, for what? Like, what is something I say on this platform? How's that going to change your life? How's that going to stop you from paying your bills? How's that going to stop you from living the life that you want? Right.
Right.
We live in a very, he said something very offensive and it's offending me. So it's like, come on, I'm a black man in America. I don't run around saying I'm offended. So, I think
this is the thing. Cause I feel like if you're not in line with what everybody thinks, then you're canceled.
Oh,
And then so in cancel culture being a thing, it's created a herd mentality.
mm-hmm.
So if you don't think like everybody else does, then you're canceled. And my thing is, how do you learn? How can anybody learn if everybody thinks one way and people are all just stuck in one particular zone? The way that you learn is when you're exposed to different attitudes and mindsets, opinions and perspectives, and then that's how you move forward. Because the United States of America is, or this country, I should say, or this world is pretty much full of people that think differently.
Exactly.
Your next door neighbor, the person that's driving in the second lane from you, that person might have a different religious belief. They might have different, preferences. They might have a different sexual orientation, all of that. How can we grow as a society if everybody's thinking the same exact way? So that's why I feel like cancel culture is dangerous, because then that's making people who might not think the way that everybody else does afraid to voice their opinion. And then that's not fair. So then that puts people in a box. And then, in the long run, it's mad harmful. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, it's terrible. It's like, because we talked about this before, the recent Jubilee video did. Like a lot of people were saying, oh, he's an actor, a podcaster. What do he know? Like, why is he questioning medical professionals? And I look at it like, at what point as people do we not question anything, right? Would you just blindly follow somebody just because? So we have to, we need to be in a society where we can challenge each other. And that's the issue. A lot of people don't like to be challenged. A lot of people don't like to be wrong. A lot of people don't want their opinions challenged. And the moment you do that, you're a hater, you're this, you're that, you're homophobic. And it's like, since when is having a conversation or voicing your opinion offensive? Because if that's the case, we all going to jail. But,
Right.
Yeah.
Nah, I mean, but I think it's because people are afraid now. Even those same people with, the same people with those careers that I mentioned, like a public figure, a politician, celebrity, whatever. Now they're less likely to speak out about something because they're afraid of being canceled. So then what does that happen? So then that just leads to, like, I wouldn't even say like a two-dimensional society, because then there's two sides. Now it's really just one-dimensional in that particular lane. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
most definitely. I mean, it's becoming bad, and it's so terrible that people, the moment celebrities do speak up, they criticize right off the get-go. And it's like, you didn't even understand his perspective or her perspective. You're just jumping. Just hating.
It wasn't even a conversation. And, we talked about this before, but for the sake of the podcast, I'll bring it up. Basically, I made a certain, I won't even say extreme comment, but I voiced my opinion on Twitter, and I was attacked, or I don't say attacked, but I had people, try to, cancel me for basically voicing my opinion. And it wasn't even a conversation that we had. I'm talking about, like, they didn't agree with me. So then they were just like, I'm just going to just straight up just attack this dude and make it personal. So now it was no longer about the conversation. It was literally just about, like, personal stuff. And mind you, these are people that I even know from a grain of salt. You know what I'm saying? So I think now, with that said, social media has, like, really hurt, like, the way that we relate to each other and the way that we just communicate. Because so the average person is not going to walk down the street and just, like, yell at you or attack you or do anything like that. But they're going to be quicker to do that on the internet. Because even you on your own podcast, you made a video, about a certain celebrity getting canceled, and you got trashed for your opinion. You have people disagree with you in the comments, people, thumbings down your video for your opinion. You know what I'm saying? And what do you gain from that? You don't gain anything from that.
Yeah, but I think when you, like, so as we both know, like, at this point in our careers, you can't be too vocal, right? But my thing is that, like, I respond to people and I tell them, what is wrong with my opinion? Did you actually watch the video? No, they watched like 30 seconds and then jumped to the comment section and made a conclusion. My only thing, the video, just for reference, is Gina Carano. Everybody knows what happened with her. And like I said, I agree with what she said. Freedom of speech is terrible. And I mean, that comes with cancel culture. I mean, you can't say nothing now without being offensive. But what you can't do is compare certain things to each other. Like, imagine a white dude talking about, I grew up in the slums of Texas. I know what it's like to be a black man in the 1960s. You just can't say stuff like that. Or what she said, comparing freedom of speech to the Holocaust. Like, I, I maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist. Maybe I'm just stupid and I'm wrong and I don't know what I'm talking about. But there's just certain fine lines you don't cross, right? And that was my only take about the video. And then, oh, you understand, you missed the point that she was trying to make. And it's like, no, I got the point, but she's also in Hollywood. You can't just go out saying certain things because it's unfortunate, but the people that write the checks, if they don't like it, then they'll stop writing those checks. So
it feels like censorship on all sides. Like,
oh yeah,
it really feels like censorship on all sides. Even if you're on like the right side of people, there's going to be other people that disagree with you. So then it's going to get to the point where, like, I mean, I don't want to say it's ever going to get to that point because now social media society has gotten to a point where, people are constantly speaking out, regardless of, whatever the consequences. I'd say more so with average people. But we talked about this before a little bit. And one mindset that I like, or a quote that I like from an actor from Coming to America named Eric LaSalle. So he says that, there's a certain power and responsibility that comes with having a voice.
Right.
Let's say when you create, social media, when you create a Twitter, when you create an Instagram, you create a YouTube channel, you are now creating a platform for yourself to have a voice and to express yourself and to put yourself out there. Most people, the average person, is not ready to have that voice. Not every person is ready to have a microphone. I don't know what's your thoughts on that before I kind of, continue with that.
I agree. I 100% agree. Jordan Peterson once said, when you open your mouth, you risk being offensive, because it's one of those things where as a society, we're conditioned to speak our mind, and social media has given us the opportunity to do it at a more global platform. It's nothing different. The only difference is, growing up, not that long ago, we didn't have Twitter. We had MySpace, but we didn't have Twitter. We didn't have Instagram. So if you wanted to say something, you said it around your neighborhood, the block, and then, so forth, such. Now it's like you could tweet something and anybody from India to freaking Afghanistan can see it. So, but I do agree, when you reach a certain fame and popularity, I understand. I mean,
well,
great power comes great responsibility.
Well, not even that, because I mean, like, even on just like the day to day, like just the voice that you have, like you can either speak, life into things, or you can speak death into things. You know what I'm saying? When I talk to you, I'm giving you energy. This is like communication. It's an exchange of minds. It's an exchange of, thoughts and perspectives. People can't fathom that. So that's why I think, like, when you see people going back and forth, when you see somebody, comment something negative that's like personally about you, that particular person doesn't understand the power of having a voice. Now, when it comes to celebrities, that's like on like a whole grand scale, because now you have so many eyes on you and you have so many, ears listening to what you're saying. Even when you don't even think that people are listening to you, they're listening to you. Like, even, on Twitter, like that, little story that I just said, like, I didn't know that people were going to respond to what I was saying. I just thought that I just said it, and then it was just going to go into the Twitter void, and nobody was going to say anything. 2 minutes later, my phone is just going off, notifications left and right, tweets, mentions, blah, 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 all from people who don't, well, I say for the majority of people that were coming at me sideways, those are the people that don't understand the power of having a voice. I, for one, think that, we talked about this mad times before, that once you get to a certain status, you forfeit your voice.
Unfortunately,
you can't really even speak your mind anymore, and I've come to the conclusion that, like, even us, like, just certain opinions that we might have, not every opinion that we have has to be out on Front Street.
Yeah.
Especially when you have a podcast, you have a YouTube channel, many people are watching, and it's kind of like you in some ways have to kind of watch what you say.
Right.
Or you get canceled, or you run the risk of somebody being offended. So there's pros and cons to like speaking out. But I think that when people do use their voice, I think they should use their voice for good, to be progressive, to learn, to take in, and what I'm saying, because we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, but 9 times out of 10 people just do too much talking and not enough listening, and that's the problem in society right now.
that is the biggest problem with our society. I could go on a tangent about that, but that is one of the biggest issues we face as society. Everybody likes talking, everybody likes rambling, but when it's time to be quiet and listen, the patience, goes out the window. But as we talk about that, I mean, it makes sense. A lot of people don't want to be the first person to raise their voice or raise awareness to something because they don't want to be the person that a lot of people don't want to be leaders in a sense. When you use your voice to speak on something, a lot of people don't want to do that. If I have to be the first person to do it, then I'm sure millions of other people will follow. But it takes a certain person to do that. That's why we have Martin Luther Kings. That's why we have Malcolm X, because those are the people that knew that they had to do something. That's how, you know what I'm saying?
Those are the people, in my opinion, that were ready for a microphone.
Right.
Because they had a message. They had something to say. It's like 9 times out of 10, people do a whole lot of talking. They don't even know what they're saying. It's like, all right, you're talking, but what are you really saying? You know what I'm saying? And 9 times out of 10, people aren't really saying anything. And it's like, one thing I wanted to ask you about was like, how much importance do you place and do you feel that society places on emotional intelligence?
Now, when you say emotional intelligence, what do you mean by that?
So you just mentioned how like people, don't want to, aren't quick to like raise their voice, right? In a particular way. So not everybody's going to be the one to come out there and speak out about something that's major, right? But people are really quick to raise their voices. You get in one little disagreement with somebody, that person is going to be more than likely to raise their volume in like an emotional sense. You know what I'm saying? I think that today people are not emotionally intelligent. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I feel like because of that lack of emotional intelligence, people are not ready to have a voice. People are not ready to have that platform to speak. And not everybody could have a YouTube channel.
Oh, in that case, yeah. I mean, that's why I said, when we first started, I said a lot of people don't have the capacity to have their opinions challenged, to have their views challenged. And that all goes to emotional intelligence, because people don't like to be wrong. People don't like to be wrong. People don't like people questioning them. And I mean, when you look at cancel culture, a lot of it is based off emotion. People don't know how to control their emotions. You say something that's very hurtful, instead of, thinking about what they said, they going based off anger or sadness that's why I said we live in a very
impersonal society.
We live in a very soft society now. Like, I mean, you could be The Rock. You could be the most, well-known, well-liked person in the world, but you say one thing that someone don't like, they want to cancel you. They want to do a smear campaign, and it's like, for what? Like, if you don't like what somebody said, don't support them. Don't go to their YouTube channel. It goes back to, I was doing a podcast with people in the UK about that, where it's like, if you don't like what somebody's saying, don't support them. It's like the people that complain about Dave Chappelle, but every time he drops a special, they right there. It's like, why? You just begging for. It's just like I said, it goes back to the society we live in now. We're rewarding sensitive behavior. I mean, we definitely are. I mean, people getting participation trophies for doing nothing. So I mean, I hate to come off blunt, but somebody got to say it.
Because I think I'm just terming it as like impersonal, you know what I'm saying? Like, as personal as social media is, because you're getting like through social media, you're getting like a peek into the lives that people want you to see, because we only, project and, put out what we, intend for people to watch. And like, literally, like, you could just literally be watching people as you scroll, you're just seeing people, like, we're looking at each other all the time, but are we really seeing them for who they really are? It's like, as close as you are, there's still like so much of a separation. And that's why that's just the word that I've been thinking of when I think about society today. It's like we're all in our little bubble, but we're like looking at each other from our bubble. You see what I'm saying? Like, when you go to the gym, you go to a public place, like these days now, it's like everybody's on their phone. Like, I bet you, like, if you're looking at your phone and you look up, I say 3/4 of the room is looking at their phone.
Oh yeah.
I saw a quote and it was like how the smartphone now is like the external hard drive to people. And that's a fact. Like it kind of is, you know what I'm saying? Like the way that we just walk, like it's like a flash drive to your life, to your personal life. It's like that's why most times you go to a couple, you know, the girlfriend doesn't want the boyfriend to see her phone and vice versa because there's like sensitive information in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, you know, when it comes to social media, one of the biggest problems, what you said, is everybody is ingrained in their phone. A lot of people don't know how to separate social media from their life. You
Mhm.
know, when I post stuff on Instagram, you know, a lot of the stuff I do is online, but I know how to separate it. I know how to put my phone down. I don't spend, you know, 22 hours of the day staring at my phone. And a lot of people, unfortunately, because of how accessible, how easy it is, and you know, how well connected it is, some people put too much stock into social media. It's
Right.
like, you know, I know people, you know, they taking pictures with private jets, you know, they got the jewelry, but little do you know, this dude renting the jewelry from his friend that's taking the picture. That private jet's not even his. He just so happened to walk past it. It's like we live in a very
It's a social hierarchy. Social
yeah.
media has created a social hierarchy now where like people will think less of their own value. They'll think less of themselves because on social media now, you're constantly looking at somebody that on the outside looking in, like they're doing better than you. They got more followers than you. They got a verified check. They look like they got more money than you. You know what I'm saying? And then that warps people's sense of self and it warps people's sense of reality. So people are viewing other people through the lens of social media, which is whack as fuck. Like that to me, you know what I'm saying? It makes no sense. So that's why you have people talking about like clout chasing, even the way that, you know, some women, they look at men like you could be a nice guy. You could be like a successful dude, but like your social media might not reflect that. But let's say if your social media did reflect that in terms of followers and like how much you choose to show off on your Instagram, on your Facebook, on your YouTube channel, then like she might want to date you just based off of how she perceives you on social media. Because in some cases, or I say 9 times out of 10, perception is reality.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? So social media is just a warped sense of perception of reality, if you get what I'm saying.
Oh yeah. I don't I've had this conversation. We've talked about this multiple times. I've talked to other people about this multiple times. Remember the whole Bow Wow challenge, you know, stuff like that. We live in a very
People got to keep up appearances. People feel like they have
yeah, keep up with the Joneses. Everybody got to look good. Everybody got to show off the latest car, the latest gadget that they got, the newest vacation. And what it's doing more harm than good, especially when you look at Instagram. Because that Instagram is probably the biggest platform right now outside of YouTube. And I mean, imagine you a person living paycheck to paycheck, you know, and then you go on Instagram, you see like 5 different posts of people flying out to Cancun and you know England every week, every 2 weeks. You know, they got the newest McLaren, you know,
right.
they got the girlfriend a Birkin bag. It's like you now you feel like you gotta compete, you gotta step at your game. And it's doing more harm than good for a lot of people because again, a lot of people don't know how to separate that reality from the reality that we live in.
Right.
Instagram is a flex. You know, when people say flexing for the gram, it's a real thing. There's so many people that make it seem like they always traveling, you know, they do these paid vacations, they got the new McLaren, but there's a lot of people that don't own none of those. They don't go traveling. You know, they taking, you know, pictures and they're photoshopping it. Or you see a McLaren on the street. California is known for, you know, you see a lot of sports cars. People taking pictures with the sport cars, acting like it's theirs. I mean, you see it all the time. But again, I think because so many people put so much stock and hype into social media,
And what
that is
people
the problem.
and what people that they don't even know think of them. You know, because if you're not strong enough, yeah, it's easy to get caught up in that. Like, you know, what some people would term to be like false validation. It's like I think we might have talked about it in another podcast where it's like you might have a picture that like you think is a great picture. I don't think it's as bad as it was before, but it's like you might like a great picture, but if nobody else likes it, then you might not like it anymore because nobody else did.
Right.
And then people will do things for other people more so than they're doing things for themselves, which, you know, to me is a problem.
It's a big problem. But you know who's going to be impacted worse is the kids, because these 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds now, they're gonna grow up in a society where everything is based on social media, their validation, their livelihood. I watch videos of TikTokers and YouTubers, or I should say influencers, and they talk about how their life is on Instagram or their platform of choice that they built their following from. And there's a lot of them get insecure. So, they trying to change their look. Some people get plastic surgery. Some people, they doing different things to try to up their game. And it's doing so much bad. And a lot of the kids that are growing up, like, it's so bad now. I know 7-year-olds that got TikTok. Imagine, like, when they grow up, they're not even growing up in a world where they just get to live. Their life is on TikTok. Every time you see a TikTok, you see a favorite TikToker. He's getting a new house every couple months. He getting a new car. He look good. She look good. Got the washboard abs. Look fantastic. A lot of people now going to start comparing themselves to that. Like, man, why don't look like that? Why don't got that many followers? Why I'm not getting that success?
That shit is harmful, yo, because it
it's terrible.
Once like your sense of like self-value just like takes a hit, like it takes a while to like come back from that. And I'm talking about like I even got caught up in that. Like I would say like some odd years ago where I used to feel like that. You know what I'm saying? And but I can't even imagine being like a super young kid in this day, like a super young kid back in the day. And then social media being a thing. I feel like there's some benefit to the internet being what it's become today. And then there's like a lot of cons that comes with that. Like kids Googling stuff that they normally wouldn't, but because like social media now, it's like when you get social media, you're going to get the news as well. Like whatever's like current pop culture. Like we was talking about Lil Nas X. Like now, the kid might not even be looking for that, but it's going to come up and then they're going to start to Google, what's this or what's that? And then they're going to start to find out certain things that they shouldn't find out.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like I said, I think this all comes back to, I'm not even talking about kids because kids different. I'm talking about the people who should know better. I think the issue is because so many people put so much stock into it. I guess when you look at the 15 minutes of fame or the people that go viral, when you see stuff like that, like people go viral, like look at Gorilla Glue Girl. She went viral. She made a crap ton of money from her GoFundMe. She started selling merchandise.
Yeah, I remember.
Other people getting movie deals. People. Right. I've been acting for 10 years, and people doing dumb stuff, and then they go famous, and then now they're getting a role that I should be getting. When people see stuff like that, it creates this. Oh, you know what? Maybe I got to do something to amp that, or maybe I have to do something like that to get to where I want to be. Everybody wants to be famous. A lot of people don't want to admit it, but a lot of people want to be famous. So when you see social media, it just encourages you to try to reach that fame that you want. But
I think it's because people want to just be perceived in that light, and I mean that goes way back, even decades before social media was even a thing. Where like when people used to go to the movies and see certain actors and stuff like that, people used to like see them as like more beautiful or more attractive and things like that because these people were marketed and like made to look like that. So even, back in the 30s, in the 40s and 50s, celebrities were viewed in a certain light as if like, they're like the kings and queens and crown jewels of society. That's what I've been said. I'm like, it's not politicians that people look up to, it's entertainers.
Oh, most definitely.
Because it's like you're sitting there and it's like how a movie theater is set up. It's like you go to the movies to watch people on a large screen. So you're like set up to be like looking up to these people literally because they're displayed larger, bigger with the great lighting, the makeup, this, that. So it can't help but make the average person feel like, man, I want to look like that. Not realizing that that's like an ultra controlled environment. Like I said, when you're on a movie set, like they got the lighting like just perfect to make you look, mad radiant and vibrant and all other types of stuff. Regular person, people didn't know that back in the day. Samuel Jackson said that. He was like how people like would just like look more attractive in movies and pretty much what I just said.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah. It's so bad now. I'll get an audition for whatever Disney Channel, whatever. And a lot of times they be like, oh, you need a certain amount of followers on social media. That's how bad it's getting. It's not even like at this point, I feel like it's not even about the talent as much anymore. It's about what you can, what star power, what following you can bring to the table. So again, it's rewarding bad behavior. So when you get people like the boot gang challenge and you know, people cinnamon challenge and all this nonsense, it's fun, it's cool, but it's rewarding bad behavior. You know, look at what's her name, Bad Baby, baby. This girl got famous off of being an ignorant child, disrespecting her mother on Dr. Phil.
Right.
Our society is conditioning people to, I wouldn't say conditioning, but it's encouraging. If you make it on World Star, if you do something outrageously stupid, you get money, you get fame, you get opportunity. So a lot of people are seeing that, and now it's driving them to do that.
Right.
But again, I think the issue is because so many people put so much stock into social media, they don't know how to separate that. But when you see stuff like that, when you see every time you go on Twitter trending, you see, you know, somebody going viral off of something, it just encourages you to be like, you know what, maybe I should maybe I should quit my job and try to do something to get me that bag. So
Yeah.
social media is doing more harm than good, but I would say as people, we just have to approach it differently and not put too much stock. Because when you close out the app, you still got bills that got to be paid. You still got kids you got to feed. Some people, a lot of people, I won't even say some, a lot of people take that social media and carry it into their real life. And that's the biggest issue as a society we face.
Well, I think it's only going to get worse from here, because I was just about to ask, like, well, what do you think? You know, where do we go from here? But you're right. I think it's really just people having, you know, changing their approach and what it is. Because really, you know, let's say for somebody like you and I, you know, social media is more so a tool for, like, you know, boosting, you know, our platforms and things, rather than like a social, you know, personal thing like it is for the majority of people. But I think it's just going to get worse and worse.
Oh, it's definitely going to get worse because with the way how technology is advancing now, it's just the natural evolution. We think it's bad now. Wait, 10 years from now, it's going to be even worse. So,
Right.
I mean, it's. I'm not going to say social media has been all bad. It's not. I
It's
mean,
not. Yeah, it
it's
has pros
perfect.
and cons. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people get to make money for the first time off a line. You know, nobody has to work 9 to 5s every day anymore. You can make money off of Instagram, you know, TikTok and such and such. But I think because people see that, they get drawn to it. So, and like I said, I don't blame social media. I blame people. People are the ones that make it the way it is. You know, the flexing, you know, acting like you got stuff when you don't. You work at Burger King, but you make it seem like on social media you're some multimillionaire. So,
Mhm.
you know, it's only going to get worse, especially with the younger generation. Oh, that's all they're going to know. That's all they see now. So when they get older, I mean, what do you expect is going to happen?
It's gonna end up. It's gonna end up like Black Mirror, where people are just gonna be plugged into the internet at all times. So if you ever seen that episode 1 Million Merits, where like when, you know, those people in that society, they would go home, like their home is literally like their bed surrounded by 4 different screens, and then like they're just constantly plugged in. They're constantly watching something. Like they're always watching something, and we're pretty much like that now, but just on a smaller degree, where, you know, it's our phones. You know, saying, like, rather than like, you know, big, you know, protruding screens like I just mentioned.
Oh, no, the days of, remember Pokemon Go when they had people were crossing the highway to catch. That's exactly what's going to happen. I mean, we have virtual reality now. So, like I said, imagine what's going to happen 10 years from now when everything is basically technology based. And I mean, to a degree it is now, but it's going to be even worse. And now, because kids are more, have more access to social media and to that, it's going to get worse. And,
Right.
you know, but again, I'm a conspiracy theorist, right? You know, when you say stuff like that, you're a conspiracy theorist, but I mean, you know.
Hope you made it to the end of this video. I hope you learned something. My brother, I hope you have any, do you have any last words?
Any last words? Follow me on Instagram. Like I said, it ain't all bad. Follow me on Instagram, brother. Stop playing.
Yeah. So I will catch y'all on the next one. Peace.
Peace.
Good luck.